Okay, so the big debate now on all the auto forums is, what do we focus on, SEO or social media? I know that I think one of the dealers forums had an ongoing question on their Facebook and an ongoing blog talking about which one of these should we be doing. Should we be doing SEO or should we just focus on social media? Is SEO dead? Google updates push down traditional SEO tactics, such as excessive linking or microsite content if the content was weak. So a lot of people have been concerned whether or not SEO should be part of their overall strategy. So what I wanted to show everyone today is that really you should focus on both. You should have a good balance of both SEO and social media in your whole digital marketing strategy, because they really aid one another. SEO, there are some basics in terms of content that you can do in order to supplement your social media, but then there's also ways to optimize your own social media posts, and some of those basics pull from SEO tactics. So SEO is important for search, and when we say search, I usually am talking about Google, and it can be turbocharged through social signals. So this is what we're going to walk through. So here is my master list of social media and blogging tools. I know that there are probably hundreds others out there, but here are the ones that we hear about most. So I was able to split them up by categories. So we have, for video, YouTube, which is the heavyweight, owned by Google, and then Vine, which is fairly new video app. So if you haven't been Vining yet, I definitely suggest it. It's certainly been my new addiction, and it's owned by Twitter, and supposedly Twitter pushed out Vine as a competitor for Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, just so you can get a little piece of the social media politics out there. We have what I call our bookmarking sites, so a Dig, a Reddit, a StumbleUpon. Those essentially are you bookmarking links, so links that you find important, or if you just want to go to Reddit and see what are the top blogs of the day by other people who are active on Reddit. Then there's photo sharing, such as Instagram and Flickr. Although I don't think Flickr is used as much anymore, Instagram is definitely the powerhouse there. In order for you to check into a location, you usually do that through Foursquare, or you can even check out business locations through Yelp. Now you can also check in via Facebook, but I would say that Foursquare definitely kicked that off a little bit, and then Facebook had gone ahead and implemented that into their platform. Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest are the big three that are always mentioned in every social media webinar. Of course, Facebook, and then Twitter is a whole different market in terms of the type of people you can connect to and different strategies that you can push there. And then Pinterest, which is a sense like bookmarking, but it is mostly photos and videos that you're, I guess, bookmarking or pinning online. And Pinterest is really fantastic because people spend a lot of time there. So the average time that someone actually sits on Pinterest can be double that of people checking in on Facebook. They sort of scroll through Facebook and then sign off, where people sit on Pinterest for a long period of time. So for overall blogging, there's WordPress, Blogger, Tumblr. I certainly love WordPress the most out of that. Even though Blogger is actually an asset of Google, I tend to prefer WordPress anyway for overall search. Google Plus is supposed to be another competitor for Facebook. Any marketer out there is probably on Google Plus. We are probably also the only people on Google Plus. There's not a lot of active users there. And then you have MySpace, which just reinvented itself, kicking off with their new owner, Justin Timberlake. Then we have LinkedIn, which is a more professional network. People tend to, connect with businesses directly if they're job searching, or specific professional groups you can have on LinkedIn. And then email marketing, I clumped into that group in terms of how to get professional. So all of you are sitting there and you're saying, Christine, you have got to be kidding me with that list. How am I supposed to do anything with that? And I went through the list quickly for that reason, so you can see how overwhelming this can all be. And really, I don't want this to be overwhelming for you. There's so many social media networks out there. You don't have to be part of every single one. There's no way that anyone out there, any dealership, because most of you only have one person in-house who's doing this type of marketing. There's just no way that you can hit upon every single one of those social sites that I just laid out for you. And I know that, which is why I want to just pull a few which I think are most important for dealerships specifically. Because as a marketing manager or internet director, you have to not only manage all these networks, but you have to plan, and you have to be able to hold yourself accountable in terms of determining some sort of ROI in general with the social media networks that you're using. So let's look back at that very overwhelming list again. So I've highlighted in orange the ones I feel that you should focus on. Now, you don't have to focus on all of these, but here are the ones that I would say you probably get the most ROI out of. Vine is very new, but I would suggest using it personally before you decide to use it for an overall video strategy. For video, I would stick with YouTube. Now, there's a lot of strategies going around that you should have hundreds of video sharing networks that you should be posting to, but really at the end of the day you want as little assets as possible, and to optimize that small list of assets the best that you can, rather than diluting it by trying to spread yourself too thin. So YouTube for video. For photo sharing, Instagram is going to help you create social friendly images for all of your networks. Foursquare is an easy, simple network to utilize in terms of people checking in and giving them offers and things like that. Twitter and Facebook are must, especially Twitter. I know that a lot of dealers tend to just be posting on Facebook, but Twitter, there are so many opportunities there, and I'll show you some of that. If you're going to create some sort of blog, I highly suggest WordPress. You should have the ability to have a blog on your main site. In addition, I suggest having some sort of WordPress blog, maybe focused specifically on service or your community giving, things like that. Now, Google+. So Google+, I mentioned when I first went through the list that there's not a lot of engagement there. But Google+ is owned by Google. So if you were trying to rank in Google, you should probably be part of their social network. So I do have a simple strategy for that, and I'll show you how to properly optimize your posts, because Google+ activity does have some weight in overall organic search hits, so that's very important. And then, of course, we want to have some sort of email marketing campaign. I've seen so many dealers who receive great spikes in traffic and click-throughs through email marketing. So how are we going to do all of this? So here are our big 5 steps. This is how we're really going to create a digital strategy that's centered around social media. First, we need to get organized. We have to really plan out what we're going to do. And then once we have some sort of plan or schedule to our overall strategy, then we have to know what exactly our goals are. And our goals are usually our keywords, because you want all of this to help you in search. Social media in general will help build relationships, but all of it should be part of some big SEO strategy that allows you to have more visibility on the networks and on search. We're going to use different visual tools or photo tools for you to create social friendly images, so you're not using stock photos. We're going to understand each of the social networks and learn how to optimize each of those networks. And then I'm going to show you exactly how you should report on all of this so you can see if what you're doing is working, because that's really the most important piece, right? You can go through all of this, but if you don't know if it's working or not, then you don't know if it's worth your time, whether you should be spending more time on it or maybe less time. So reporting is key. So this is our game plan. So let's start with getting organized. You have to get organized with a content calendar. I cannot stress this enough. I have so many dealerships ask me, how do I have a social strategy? How do I make sure I'm covering each social network evenly? You have to use a content calendar. There is no other way. You can use something like Hootsuite to schedule your post out, so you can write them all on a Monday and have them scheduled to post throughout the week. But you still have to start that scheduling through that content calendar. So here's an example of that. Each day you can have a theme. So for instance, Mondays you can push out original content. With that original content, let's say it'll be a blog on your dealership's website. So you're posting a link to that blog on Facebook, and then you're going to retweet that blog on Twitter and use a hashtag with your keyword or the topic. Maybe on Tuesday you should have Tech Tip Tuesdays, which I know is popular for the service department. So every Tuesday you share tips and tricks of the service department and what exactly happens when you change oil, or when you have to, how do you know when you need new tires, things like that. So really label yourself as an expert in the field. That can be every Tuesday. And then so you can promote that specific service or department through some sort of offer through your social networks as well. So this really keeps you on track, because otherwise, if you're not planning for a consistent message across all of your marketing channels, you're just putting out fires instead of planning ahead. And what I often find is you're going to have huge gaps in engagement. So you can have a week where you don't post anything, and then you have 5 Facebook updates on a Monday because you had extra time. You don't want that to happen. You want to be consistent. That is key. So definitely start with a content calendar. So now that we have our calendar, how are we going to get optimized? So the Google Keyword Tool, I don't know if any of you have used it, but the Google Keyword Tool is your SEO best friend. So get cozy with it, because it is the best tool that you can use for SEO. Basically, go to Google search, type in Google Keyword Tool, click through, type in the keywords that you think people would search to find your dealership, and then see how many times that keyword is actually being searched. You can see here that the keyword Nissan dealer in NJ is searched 5,400 times. Now it says global monthly searches. There's global and there's local. Local is going to be within the United States. Global is within the whole world. But since I have a geo-targeted added, that global monthly search and local monthly search is going to be the same, because only New Jersey is right here in the United States. So type in your keywords there and see how people are finding you. And this is the best way to really hold an SEO company accountable, because I've seen many dealerships being optimized on keywords that nobody is searching for. And they say, oh, well, I searched that keyword and I'm ranking well for it. So this SEO thing must be working. But if nobody's searching for that keyword, why does it matter whether or not you're ranking for it? You want to rank for the keywords that matter, and that usually is brand and state, or brand and city. So Nissan NJ, Nissan Atlantic City, things like that. So please use that keyword tool. Find your keywords. Once you find your keywords, you want to make sure that your actual main site is optimized. So when you do a search in Google on page 1, in the white area, so not the actual yellow ads, but in the white organic section, you'll always see a title, a URL, and then 2 sentences of a description. That's called your metadata. So your metadata can be optimized in the back end of your website, and this is also something that your website provider or your digital marketing company is doing. So they are optimizing your meta title and your meta description, and they are not being displayed on the website when you actually physically go to the site. They're being displayed through search. So having this metadata optimized for your keywords ensures that you have a better chance of ranking for those keywords, because you'll notice, so I did a search on PCG digital marketing to ensure that we would come up so I could grab this screenshot, and you'll notice that my keywords are bolded in the title and in the description. So in the meta title and meta description, my keywords are being shown. So do some searches for your company and see what your meta title, meta description are, so that you can see whether or not you are being optimized for your keywords based on the keyword tool. Make sure that you keep it short. You don't want a really long title, because you see that this title is being cut off, and same with my description. My description, it gets cut off after a certain point. So you want to keep it short, sweet, to the point. You want to use those keywords. You also want to have an engaging description. You'll see we have PCG is an award-winning agency. That's an engaging description that could give us a higher click-through rate, because this is the first thing people are reading when they search for us online, when they see it in search. So now we want to build a blog. So I highly recommend that you have a blog on your main site. but also to create a WordPress blog so you can post articles in both places. So if you're going to have a WordPress blog, I do suggest posting about 2 times a month. So you should add to your content calendar how often you'll be posting to the WordPress blog, and then you should be able to develop all of your social posting around that, because really your blog gives you your content for social. If you don't have original content, you will run out of ideas for social. It happens every time. You will hit a wall because there's nothing else for you to repost. There's only so much you can pull from the OEM. You have to have your own content. So when you build that blog, you want to make sure that you're tagging the blogs with all the keywords that you found through your keyword tool. So you want to make sure that your links are tagged with your keyword, whether it's the keyword that that link is about or the keyword overall. It should make sense either way. So for instance, when you link content, it's called anchor text. So in this specific blog, we talked about SEO basics. So within the content, we linked the phrase SEO basics to another blog we had previously written. So that anchor text links out to another blog, but we also tagged it with a title, as you see in the actual HTML. It says A in purple, and then it says title equals SEO basics, and then my actual link, and then what's in black is the actual visible text. And you'll often see this title when you mouse over an image or you mouse over text. That's the actual SEO title given to that specific link or to that specific photo. So it gives Google a good indication of what that link is about. So by having anchor text, your anchor text should be on a keyword. Your anchor text shouldn't be on click here or read more, because that means you want Google to rank you for click here or read more. You want that text to be on a keyword, and then you want to additionally give that keyword a title within the link so you can show Google this link is about SEO basic. It's throwing up the red flag for them. So start to build those links within your blog. Think of linking as building roads to your dealership's website. The more roads you have going to your website, the better chances that Google will be able to find you. Now, even though I say more roads, be careful, because you don't want to buy links, and you certainly don't want to throw up too many links at once, because by doing that, you're essentially just creating all of these bumpy dirt roads to your dealership rather than nice paved quality roads to your dealership. So links are certainly important. In order to do that, I would say no more than 3 to 4 links per post. So you should link to other pages on your website. So if you're talking about a specific model, you should link back to your inventory of that model, or link back to specials, or maybe a staff page if you want them to contact you, things like that. And you want to make sure all of those links have a title element to them, like we have here, with that keyword that's relevant to that specific link. So here's an example of all of that. So my keyword here is Jackson Oil Change. You'll notice that my first link is on the anchor text oil change. So as soon as I drop a link into that text, it goes from regular content to an anchor text, and that's going back to my service page. And you'll see that I have a second link, which is oil changes, and that's also going back to a specific service page as well. And now my title element is Oil Change Jackson, so I've titled that link with my keyword as well. So now that we have the content out of the way, let's talk more about our social networks. So when you create a blog, one of the things that you'll have to do is provide some sort of videos or photos to that blog to make them more social friendly. Because the moment that we open up a blog, it has to be visually appealing, because your brain is going to sort of compute how it looks like before it actually starts reading anything. So getting visual with social-friendly photos, you can do that easily through Instagram. So Instagram, it can be an app on your phone, but it also has the pages that you can visit actually through search. And it puts different filters on the photos that are very similar to filters that you would find in Photoshop or sort of another professional photo program. So for Instagram, it's very popular, and a lot of businesses use Instagram where they can upload a photo right to Instagram, and then they take that photo, because it'll save that photo to your phone after you upload it. They take that photo and they drop it into their blog. So you'll see now the last photo here that I have on the screen, you can tell that there's a certain photo filter on there that makes it look, I guess, a little vintage or old, however you want to say it. But that's much more social friendly than dropping in a stock photo, which may look like more of an advertisement. So you have to really get creative with Instagram. You want to, I would say, go through some of the photos to begin with and see the types of photos that people are uploading and how they're shot, and you'll notice that they're very beautiful photos on there, and their tagline is fast, beautiful photo sharing. So it's more of an art community than maybe some sort of like stock photo website. And you'll also notice that that type of artistic photo theme carries into a network like Pinterest. So definitely get creative. Do some searches on hashtags such as car, auto, dealership, or maybe your specific brand like Ford. See what people are posting and see how you can get more creative with your photos to not only post on Instagram, but then to also download them and put them through your blog. Now you want to use hashtags when you write a description. So when you upload a photo, it allows you to write a little description. Use a hashtag with your keywords. So if I were to upload a photo for my oil change blog, I would want to use hashtag oil change and then hashtag Jackson, maybe something like that, so that people can better find the photo and better find my Instagram handle. So for YouTube, it's a great way to create videos for that same blog. So why don't you actually create a video on that service that you just wrote about, creating a video on what exactly happens during an oil change. It should really, I would say, spotlight or star your staff rather than your building or the cars or things like that, because your staff really is the reason why people would come to you and want to do business with you, because in their eyes every Ford dealership is the same. It's the same inventory. There's not a huge difference in price. It's all very similar to them. What makes the difference is the team. So you want to highlight your team through these videos. So have a how-to of the oil change or the service. Embed it in your blog. There's a way that you can, there's a little share button, and it gives you an embed code that allows you to embed the video right into your blog. You want to keep the video short. So this video is 5 minutes long. It's still got a decent amount of views. I would try to keep it no longer than about 2 minutes, and if you're not doing a how-to, I would suggest trying to keep it to a minute. If you just have a talking head or a quick tip, try to keep it to about a minute long. Now going back to some of our SEO tactics, SEO basics of keyword and linking can be used in YouTube. So use your keywords in your title, in your description, and also use a URL in the description and make sure that it links out to maybe the blog that it's embedded in so they can read more. And that provides great link juice from YouTube to your website or to your blog. You want to link to a related page and not just the root domain. You of course want to drive links to your root domain, which would be pcg.com, but if you have pcg.com/oil change and that's more relevant to that video, then you want to link out to that. Google+. So Google+ is, in my opinion, I guess the necessary evil. Although it's not evil in the sense of it's hard to use, it's more that you're not getting any engagement on the platform, but we all have to be there and post some sort of content because it's related to Google. And Google is using Google+ posts to help better rank things in organic search. So Google+ should be part of your overall digital marketing strategy, more for its connection to Google search, much less for its overall relationship building with customers. So here's an example of a Google Plus post. So this is our blog that we wrote about oil changes, and you'll see that we used hashtags yet again on our specific keyword that we're trying to target. Because that original keyword focus was Jackson oil change, and you see we did hashtag oil change, hashtag Jackson right in our description. And you'll see that Google Plus, when you share a link, it pulls up the same meta title and meta description that is visible in Google search. So that's why it's so important for those descriptions and titles to be short and engaging so that you have more click-through, not only through search, but also through those social shares. Okay, Facebook. So Facebook is a great way to give out a lot of offers and keep your audience engaged after that they like you, because you can get a good amount of people to like you on Facebook, but due to PageRank, it's hard to get in front of them all the time in their newsfeed and have them remember you. I'm sure there's probably so many businesses that I've liked on Facebook, and I maybe have never once again engaged with their page. So for Facebook, posting coupons and offers is a great way of winning back that audience that has already liked you, and additionally gaining even more likes and follows from the audience that hasn't liked you yet. So post a link to that blog on Facebook, and also have some sort of Facebook-only offer or coupon. Ask them what kind of offers they would like to see in the future. What are they looking for? Why are they liking your page? What do they want from the relationship? Just go ahead and ask them, engage what they're looking for, and start to try to deliver that for them. So having coupons is definitely the way to go for Facebook. Make sure you start a conversation with every post. Ask some sort of question or ask for some sort of engagement. So it's not just you reposting things to your Facebook and kind of a one-way street of engagement. Overall, posting from about 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. are going to give you the best click-through rates. You can try to post in the morning. I would say around 11 a.m. would be a good time. But usually people are logging on Facebook in the middle of the afternoon. For Twitter, it's more, I would say people sit on Twitter a lot when they're watching TV at night, so you're going to get more engagement then. But I would also, for Twitter, try in that afternoon period. So speaking of Twitter, Twitter is very, very underutilized by the automotive industry. Some dealers have been able to see all the different opportunities you can get from Twitter, and I definitely have gone ahead and focused almost solely on Twitter, but many dealers are more dealing with their website and Facebook and just linking those two. So for Twitter, you have the opportunity to actually post more than what you would on Facebook because of the way that the feeds work. So you'll notice on Facebook, you can check it a few times a day, and you could see a lot of similar posts throughout the day. Whereas Twitter, if you follow enough people, of course, if you follow only 10 or 20 people, you won't see that feed being refreshed. But if you follow enough people, you will see that that feed is just constantly moving. So it's important to be aware of that movement and to tweet accordingly. So you can post that same offer that you had on Facebook to Twitter and just ask for a retweet. How do you do that? You just type please RT or please retweet, and people will retweet it. Make sure you're, again, optimizing with that hashtag as a way to tag your post with a specific keyword. So in here we have Kingsway Toyota said need an oil change, and they did hashtag oil change. And then they linked out, they linked out to a blog, but they also have a few other hashtags that they added in there. I wouldn't have too many hashtags. I don't like to do any more than 3, because after that, sometimes it gets to be a little too much. But that's something for you to test and play around with and see what's going to work for you and what's going to get the most engagement. Now, Twitter mining is a great way to find people on Twitter. So Twitter mining is searching for users in your direct area through the Twitter Advanced Search option. I would use it at least once a week. You can do a search for people talking about a specific keyword. So if they're using the keyword oil change, and then you can say you want to look for people using that keyword within the state of New Jersey, and it'll show you everyone who's searching that. And you can actually reply right back to them and say, oh, you're looking for an oil change? Here's actually a coupon that we just recently posted, and then send it to them. So it's a good way to get more follows, especially for service, because people will certainly tend to tweet about if they need their car serviced, but also people who are looking for a new car. You'll have people who will tweet and say, looking for a new car, anyone have any suggestions out there? And you can write back and say, well, actually, here's our current specials. You know, if you want to come in for a test drive, contact us. Always give a name, an email address, and a phone number when you're really trying to solicit a lead so that they have someone to reach out to. So if you've ever tweeted or even had a Foursquare check-in that went right to Twitter, that you were maybe at a specific location, or maybe, you know, for me, one time I complained about my Verizon Fios over Twitter, and within 2 hours, I've had Verizon Fios tweet back at me because they were doing Twitter mining. They were searching for their business name through Twitter, and they were answering anybody who was complaining and trying to remedy the situation through Twitter. So I complained about my Verizon Fios. They tweeted back to me a few hours later, and they said, please email this support person and so that we can handle it for you. And then it was resolved for me all through Twitter. I've also checked in on Foursquare and had that pushed to my Twitter, and then I've had the business tweet back at me and say, thanks for visiting us. So Twitter mining is fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. Make sure you use your hashtags and make sure that you're posting enough so that people can find you, rather than only posting, let's say, 3 times a week. You want to post at least every day, but I would even look at tweeting up to twice a day if you have the content to do so. So speaking of Foursquare, Foursquare allows you to check into a business location. So you can claim your Foursquare page. So go to Foursquare.com and claim your business page. It allows you to go through a sort of login process, and you can say, yes, I own this business. They'll mail you a postcard with a certain passcode. Once you enter in the passcode, you own that page. It's sort of like claiming a Google Maps listing. Same sort of idea. After you claim the page, they give you this fun little sticker that you can put on your window and remind people to check into Foursquare. So when you have people who are going to check into Foursquare at your dealership, you can show that same offer that you're promoting on your Facebook and Twitter for maybe a free oil change or a half-off oil change, whichever it is, so that you can encourage people to check in, but then also they'll remember that, you know, to be able to get that offer on Foursquare. There's not a lot of businesses that do this. I would say in an urban area, Foursquare is much more popular because there's a lot of check-ins happening, but even around where I'm right now, I would say I'm pretty much in the suburbs now, and a lot of businesses aren't utilizing Foursquare, so I check into their restaurants or other places of business all the time, and I don't really get any offers or deals from it, and it's free advertising for them because all my friends see that I'm at that location. So having an offer on Foursquare is great, and then you'll see this is how it displays on their phone after they check in. Just make sure that your sales team is aware of these offers and how to redeem them. I've been in many situations where I've tried to redeem an offer at a business location, and the person that I was dealing with at the register or the waiter or waitress, they had never seen it before. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what Foursquare was, and they had to call in a manager, and it definitely isn't a great customer experience. So claim your Foursquare page through their website, get your sticker, and then start offering coupons and promotions through Foursquare just like you would on Twitter and Facebook. Email marketing. Email marketing is a great way to get spikes in traffic. I would certainly keep your emails short, sweet, and to the point. I've seen many dealer emails that are similar to a full-page Sunday newspaper advertisement. They're long, They're busy. You have to understand that many people are going to view that email on their phones. So be aware of how that email looks on a mobile device in addition to how it's going to look on a desktop. Keep it short, have an engaging headline, offer some sort of coupon or promotion. Those are probably the only emails that I open up, or some sort of offer or promotion. And it has to have an engaging headline. There's some emails that no matter what, I always find myself opening up. Houlihan's, which is a restaurant chain similar to, I guess, like a TGI Fridays or a Chili's. Houlihan's has some of the best email marketing that I've seen. I open it up every time. They always get me with some sort of title that makes me want to click through. They just have great emails. So sign up for their email campaign if you want to see exactly what they're pushing out and get some ideas for yourself. Groupon, of course, is lives on email because their whole really business setup is that you sign up for the emails and then they push out these sort of deals and offers to you. So they're another one to look at in terms of the kind of offers that they push out, so you know how to even what sort of offers can be pushed out on social and through email that are really getting people's attention. Now, what you can do in order to promote this oil change coupon that you have that sort of started with a blog article, and then you added a social-friendly image through Instagram, and then a how-to video on the service with YouTube, and you're pushing it out through Facebook and Twitter and Google+, and now Foursquare. You're also pushing out the same promotion through your email campaign, but you want to target your market. So filter your CRM by the customers who fit whatever market you're trying to target, rather than blasting it out to everybody at once. You're going to get a better click-through rate if you filter your CRM and your email list each time than always pushing it out to the same group time and time again. It also means that they'll get less emails on their end and they're less likely to opt out. You make sure that that headline is engaging for that click-through rate, but that headline also shouldn't be long because on a phone, that headline is going to be a little bit shorter. And whenever you offer any sort of coupon or promotion, allow them to redeem it by displaying it on their phone instead of always having to print it. So you can have some sort of offer code where the salesperson can write it down or the service tech can write it down and note that they displayed it with their smartphone. But that's a great way to encourage more people to use the promotion. If they can just show it on their phone, they don't have to worry about printing it. So how are we going to measure all of this? Google Analytics is where you should be measuring how your digital marketing is working. I know that there's a lot of other tools out there, but if they're not pulling in Google Analytics, then I suggest you still use analytics yourself because those numbers may not always be correct. So start with Google Analytics and see exactly where your traffic is coming from. You want to look at your referral section, which is going to be under traffic sources, and you can see how you're getting visits. If people are clicking through on that blog on Facebook, if they're clicking through on Twitter, you can see all of that. How many people are coming from the email marketing campaign? How many people are finding you through organic search? What are your popular keywords? The times that you've had a lot of foot traffic in the dealership. Did you have an email campaign a week before that turned into a traffic spike, that turned into a foot traffic spike? Make sure you really are measuring everything from start to finish so that you can see what works and what doesn't. Now, I do want to note that for any digital marketing, you want to give yourself up to 6 months before you go ahead and drastically change anything. So the first 3 months you can gauge on what's working and you can start to see the benefits of your overall strategy. But I like to wait another 3 months after that before I throw everything out and start all over again. And I think dealers definitely need to learn how to have a little more patience with their Google Analytics, because I know that all of you are working on that 30-day sales cycle, but you have to look at it on a quarterly basis or a yearly basis in terms of how you're doing, because seasonal changes are going to affect your online marketing. You have to give time for yourself to build relationships on social, and you have to really be aware of how to track things correctly through analytics to be able to say, yes, Facebook is working, or no, Foursquare is not working because no one's coming with the coupon. This way, you don't start a strategy and then when it's just about to work, you sort of throw it out because you weren't able to track it correctly. So Google Analytics is your #1 ROI source. So just to wrap up a little bit, I know we've gone over a lot, but what I wanted to get across were these 5 specific steps. Get organized with a content calendar. Make sure you have a consistent message across all your channels. Whoever's doing your digital marketing should also have communication with whoever's doing your traditional marketing. And those 2 people should have communication with whoever is going to be client-facing, your salespeople, your service technicians, so that everyone's on the same page on what we're pushing out, what we're promoting, how we're getting customers in, and what's our overall branding. Know your keywords that you want to track and search. So which keywords are people most likely to type in to get to your website? How are you ranking for those keywords? How can you increase visibility on those keywords using both blogging by having SEO basics in your blog that we had gone over, as well as optimizing on social using hashtags and just pushing out your website through methods such as Twitter mining. Get visual. It's so important to have good content, but you also have to understand our attention span is so little online that you have to supplement that great content with great images and great videos. So use video to present your team as experts in the field. Really spotlight their expertise and spotlight their personalities rather than filming a video of maybe how clean your dealership is. That's very important, but it's better to have your staff front and center because that's going to be the reason whether or not I do business with you. Use Instagram to create social-friendly images so you're not using stock photos. Stock photos, they certainly have their place, and sometimes it's all you have to use, but if you can use Instagram on site, it's going to be much better in terms of engagement. Understand each social network, but also understand that they can all work together. Now, when I say work together, you don't want to have your Facebook automatically pushing to Twitter, so everything you post on Facebook, just post on Twitter, and you say, oh, well, I covered Twitter. There are going to be different types of followers on each of your networks, and you want to start to engage with them and find out what they want in this social relationship that you have with them. Do they want coupons? Do they want tips and advice? And start to gauge how you can present things to them. So you want engaging titles, on Facebook. Engaging content works with also a photo. On Twitter, you have to have a short, engaging headline to get that click-through rate. You also need hashtags on Twitter and on Instagram in order to get found. So understand what to do for each network, but also create in that content calendar a way that each of those networks are shouting the same message so that they're not all separate. And then measure your ROI. Report on your metric using Google Analytics. Really report on organic search in terms of keywords and also your referrals. Now for looking at organic search for keywords, know that your top keyword is going to be your business name. So there's a way to filter that out using advanced segments in Google Analytics. Filter out your business name so you can see your non-branded keywords such as Nissan Dealer NJ so that you can better see the keywords that people are coming through organic search that's other than your name so you can see if what you're doing is working for your blog and for social. Okay, so I definitely want to open up to any questions. Please go ahead and send your questions through and about any of the networks that I went over, or if there's a network that I didn't go over that you want me to briefly talk about, and of course any SEO questions as well.
Christine, outstanding information, thank you. And you're quite right, we've got a number of questions from attendees. They've been quite patient. So if it's okay with you, I'll verbalize those questions for you and let you answer them however you wish. First question I have from Michael. Should dealers maintain different Twitter accounts for different departments, whether that's service or sales, or should they use just the one?
That's a great question. I suggest having one account because the more accounts that you're going to maintain, you're just creating more work for yourself. And then you're going to have small groups of followers on each account. So instead of having 500 Twitter followers, you're having 100 on each. And then that sort of, holds you up a little bit. So I suggest having one account for the dealership. Now, if you're an auto group, I do suggest having one account for each of those brands. So if you're an auto group and you own 5 different rooftops, then you want 5 different Twitter handles, but I wouldn't go any more than that.
Good, thank you. Next question is from Brent, and he asks, what kind of things should an auto dealer tweet? There's a universal subject for you.
That's a great question. I would say continue to tweet any coupons or special or promotions. You also want to tweet anything that you're doing in the community. And when you're going to do that, so let's say you just had a fundraiser for the American Cancer Society, I would tweet out maybe your final money amount that you were able to raise and then tag the American Cancer Society in that tweet. So any ability to be able to tag another business also means you'll ask them for engagement. So for example, we at PCG will work a lot with the local animal shelter. So we will often tag their page on our page when we say that we went over there for a visit, or tag their page on Twitter. And then they'll often retweet us, and their followers will like us back. So that's a great way to get Twitter followers. In general, any sort of tips or advice is great. People are always looking for tips in terms of shopping for a car. Should I buy or lease? What to look for in a used car? What does it mean when I get an oil change? Why do I have to go every certain number of miles? That's great. And to have a really robust blog that allows you to have unique content on Twitter, that's the best way to go. And then, besides your own tweets, you want to make sure you retweet others. So retweet other local businesses in the area to show them support, or do that Twitter mining and tweet out to people who are looking for your services in the area.
Right, thanks. Here's an interesting follow-up question from Brent. What percentage, and I think everyone would like to know the answer to this, what percentage of a dealer's ad budget should be used on social media each month?
Wow, that is a great question. It honestly depends on the size of your dealership and what else you're doing in the market. We actually have a spreadsheet. So if you email me, I can email it back to you. It basically helps you, it's called a ZMOT spreadsheet, so anyone who hasn't heard of the Zero Moment of Truth in Google. Basically, the Zero Moment of Truth is that moment in time where people are shopping and researching online rather than physically going into the business, which they had to previously. And the spreadsheet calculates based on your spend in each aspect of your marketing, and based on then your website traffic and your sales, how much each of those leads are costing you in each aspect of your marketing.
Right. Thank you.
So that is, if you really want to know that answer, shoot me an email. I'll send it to you, and you can fill it out, because that's a great way to say, okay, my TV budget is, let's say $30,000 a month. And this is how many people who are coming to my website. So with my TV budget and all these other budgets, TV's costing me $20 a click, whereas my paid search budget in Google is only costing me $2 a click, and then you can start to even out your budget.
Right, good stuff. Here's one from Rob, and this obviously is related to the buy here, pay here dealers. What topics would a buy here, pay here car dealer blog about?
So for buy here, pay here, so for those buy here, pay here dealers that I've dealt with in the past, you're usually dealing with people with bad credit. So you want your content and your topics to be centered around the fact that their experience is going to be simple, because they're going to do, it's your sort of a one-stop shop. They're going to do everything within your dealership. There is no stress. You also want to give advice on how to rebuild their credit. How will that car purchase help them rebuild that credit? And then, since you're dealing with used cars, how can what to look for in a used car? You know, how can they trade in their existing car? How would that work out? What should they do to prep their car for a trade-in before they come into your dealership? So it's a lot of easing them into the process, because they may not have great credit or they may not be in a great situation, and giving them the confidence that you can help them through this, and it can be possible that they can, you know, buy a vehicle, even though they may have not thought that before. So I would go down that route. As a dealership in general, giving people the confidence in terms of buying a vehicle through tips and advice is always the way to go, because that can be sort of a scary process for anybody, bad credit, good credit, or whatever. So if they can see you as an expert and see you as a, you know, someone who's trustworthy, they're more likely to do business with you.
Right, good stuff. Here's another question on Twitter, which seems to be a popular one. Should you follow back everyone who follows you on Twitter? And that's from Michael.
You know what? It depends who's following you. If it looks spammy, I wouldn't follow them back. But if they're in your local area, because you can see their location, I would follow them back. So even if it's another business, I would follow them back, because when you're a local business, you want to support other businesses around you and other organizations. If they're in your market and they're a consumer, absolutely follow them back. But you don't have to follow back everyone. I know I get a lot of, I guess, random follows on Twitter, and I sort through them and only follow back specifically who's in my industry, whether it's social or in the automotive industry, or other dealers who could be potential clients. I don't follow everyone back. You should definitely filter that.
Got it. Here's an interesting question from Michelle, and hopefully I'm articulating this question correctly, Michelle. With your blog, is it better to focus your blog on a small number of keywords in many posts, or a large number of keywords in the same number of posts? Does that make sense?
A small number, can you say that again?
Sure. With your blog, is it better to focus on a small number of keywords within that post, or a large number of keywords in the same number of posts? That might be an interesting question to actually email you directly, Christine, and Michelle might be able to articulate on that question a little bit more.
Yeah,
and if that makes sense.
Yeah, Michelle, definitely reach out to me and ask me, you know, more specifically what you're looking for. In general, when it comes to keywords in your blog, I like to focus on 3 to 4 keywords at a time within a whole blog, but in a specific blog post. So an individual blog post, I only like to focus on 1 or 2 keywords. So you'll see that the example I gave had a single keyword focus, which was oil change Jackson. I didn't have 10 different links going out to 10 different types of keywords.
Great. Very good. Looks like I've got a couple more questions if you've got some time, Christine.
Sure.
Question here, it's on Twitter again. Again, what subjects besides oil changes are good for Twitter mining? Or perhaps that's for using Twitter.
For Twitter mining, I would also search anyone who's searching for a new car, you know, or wants to look for lease offers. You're going to have the bulk of it to be specifically on service, but if you do new car searches, as well as searches on your brand, so a search on Nissan or a search on Ford, but then you also want to do searches on your business name, so you can see if anyone is complaining about you, or if anybody is actually giving you a compliment, or if anyone checked in on Foursquare, you can find those people as well. So new cars, used cars, service, search for your specific OEM brand, and then search for your business name.
Got it. Thanks. And I've got a question here from Mapeo, and again, I think this might be a question that I might have you send directly to Christine Mapeo. Looks like it's regarding title tags, but I'll forward that, or at least have her forward that to you, Christine. But we do have one final question from Carly with a C. How often are these webinars offered? Great content. I would like to have co-workers have the opportunity to listen to this if it is offered again. Well, that's a high compliment, Christine, so I'll let you answer that one.
Great. Yeah, I definitely think we should do more of these. And it seems to that Twitter and content are going to be your top ones. I do have other presentations on my SlideShare. So if you shoot me an email, I can send that to you. If you guys are looking for anything more specific right now in terms of specific tip sheets and sure, other resources that you need. And Cameron, you're recording this too, right?
Exactly. And upon asking that question, that's probably related more to us. Carly, we do intend to have these webinars on a monthly basis, and of course social media, social strategy, it's the hot topic, it's the hot button, and we certainly anticipate to cover that subject more regularly in the future. As far as the presentation, yes, we have recorded that, and we will send an email to all attendees with a short evaluation and a follow-up email. And if you would like a copy of Christine's presentation, that email will also include a link to download the presentation. So I think that's all the questions that we have there, Christine. Our sincere thanks to you. Thank you for your time. We appreciate that. Thank you to our attendees, and thank you for your responses, for attending the webinar. And we look forward to doing this again soon.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks again.